He was a tank. I mean, you gave him a hug, it felt like you're hugging a wall. Stress, 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 stress. The guy retired, he lived 2 days. He had a stroke. Now, who put that in their date book?
Welcome to Give a Heck. I am your host, Dwight Heck, and for much of my life, lived my life in quiet desperation, wondering how I was going to pay the bills, take vacations, save for retirement, and one day wondering if I would get off the hamster wheel of life and have purpose. A life that most of society lives, which takes us to work, then home, then repeat, and pays us hopefully enough just to survive. The harsh truth that most live with more months than money and have no idea how to live life on purpose, not by accident. This ensures the mass majority are living not just financially broke, however, emotionally and mentally as well due to financial pressures. In each episode, I will introduce you to thoughts, ideas, and guests that can help you to learn how you too can live life on purpose, not by accident.
There is a quiet fear that sets in for a lot of people in the years before retirement, not because they did anything wrong, not because they were reckless or irresponsible, but because nobody ever sat down with them and showed them how this next chapter actually works once the paychecks stop. They saved, they invested, they trusted the system, and yet the question that keeps them up at night is the same one. Am I actually going to be okay? Today's guest has been answering that question for 35 years. He's a retirement income specialist, the owner of Kollar Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisory firm, a certified senior advisor, a certified estate planning professional, a radio host, and the author of the Retirement Navigator: How to Avoid the Financial Torpedoes, Fix the Financial Leaks, and Secure Your Retirement Savings. He has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, CNBC, the Washington Post, and Fox Business. And he hosts Retirement and Income Radio Show in Chicago. His name is Mark Kollar. And he has built his entire career around one conviction: the difference between having money and having income in retirement is not a small one. It is a difference between a retirement you can depend on and one you are just hoping holds together. Welcome to Give a Heck, the show for people who want to live life on purpose and not by accident. I am your host, Dwight Heck, and today we are going to talk about the mistakes most people do not even know they are making, the risks nobody is warning them about, and what it actually takes to build a retirement plan to last. Mark, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for agreeing to come on and share with us some of your life journey.
Oh, Dwight, thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I love the passion history. I did listen to some episodes and I appreciate what you're trying to do. I wish truth was easy. I wish it was easy to deal with. In our industry, there's damaging emotion, okay? There's damaging trust, and I see people getting wiped out by simple things. I'll share some stories with you in a little bit, but I'd like to share with you why I do what I do. Okay, there's always a reason for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got, why do they do? Did they just fall into it?
Well, just to stop you for a second, that story will fit right into the origin of how you got into this, right? So one of the things I do with my show, as you mentioned, you listen, is I talk about the origin, your earliest recollections before your credentials, before your firm, before the 35 years. And I want to understand some of your path because that's what my listeners and I appreciate. So if we could start at the origin, we'll lead into those stories and what you were just talking about. I'd really appreciate it. So just share with us some of your origin from your earliest recollections and what may have triggered you to be the person you are today.
I'm in the protection business, basically, if you can think about that. I need to protect people not only from themselves, but from unseen things happening, bad decisions, bad people, bad advisors. But I want to explain what started was a traumatic event when I was in second grade. So I was what, 5, 7 years old, and I heard screaming down the hallway. And my father was my best friend, the best friend on the planet. He was my hero. The guy was unbelievable. He was a captain in World War II. He was the #1 periodontist on planet Earth. Actually, the chairman of Sony flew from Japan to get to Chicago, my father, to work on him. Okay. He was the innovator. He designed the tools that they still use to this day. Okay. But I never saw him. It was 6 days a week. He was working his tail off. And I used to go sailing with him. I was the youngest of five. The oldest was 16 years older than me. Okay. But on this day, it was in the morning time, about 5 in the morning. He used to get up at 5:30, but I'm assuming it's 5. And I heard this screaming, and when you're a kid, you think it's a monster, right? I mean, this is crazy. This is out of a horror movie, the sound, and I started to dry heave. I'm just a little kid. I was throwing up from the sound. I was so terrified. Then I realized it was my dad, and I ran down the hallway, which is about 50 feet to get to his bedroom, and he was thrashing from side to side within a small doorway into the bedroom, into the sitting room, and he's slamming himself. At the time, how old was he? He was probably, gonna remember, how old was he? About 58, I guess, about 58. Anyway, he was screaming for the shotgun to blow his head off. He's screaming for it, but he can't get off the ground. I don't know what's happening. And you're a little kid, right? So I just fell on him, and I knew where the shotgun was. I knew where it was. Being a young kid, you hunt stuff in the house and every nook and cranny and every drawer and all that stuff. Well, anyway, I hugged him, and I'm bawling my eyes out. He's foaming at the mouth. Okay. He was a big guy. He was probably 300 something pounds at the time. And what had happened is he came down with a disease called acute familial myositis, and he didn't know what it was. Nobody knew what it was. Punches holes in your muscle tissue, right? But they didn't know. This is 1972 or whatever it was. And he had been going through a bad business deal. Here we are talking about bad advisors, bad lawyers, bad accountants. He's a scientist, Dwight. He was a scientist. That's what he did. He was an innovator. Um, so anyway, he had some because of they did faulty accounting and stole a bunch of money down in the Caribbean. He had the first boat chartering business in the entire Caribbean on the side of being a periodontist with the largest practice. But he was just under so much pressure and he couldn't take it. He couldn't understand. He didn't know where the weakness was coming from. He's completely freaking out. And here it is. Well, what had ended up happening is from 1972 to 80, he fell 2 more times. In 81, he never walked again. So had I given him the shotgun, he wouldn't have lived in a wheelchair for 20 years, from 81 to 2001. That was a lingering thing, always in my back of my head. I didn't bring it to the surface, right? Until later, doing a lot of internal work. But anyway, what had happened? That's a physical issue. Then he had bad investments. He was talking to his best friends, doctors, neighborhood. Oh, buy this, do this, go there. Broker so and so. I play golf with him. My dad's too busy. They didn't have an internet back then. It was all the good old boy network, and my dad was #1 in the world. There were a bunch of people to talk to him that would just blow your mind. He made multiple millionaires from just friends of his when he would refer people to him because he was the center of his what he did for a living. So bad advice, bad investments, and he would hang on to things that he should have gotten rid of, but he didn't have the time. He's working 6 days a week. He's exhausted on Sunday. The only time I saw him was when we raced sailboats. So we're talking 47-footer, 50, 64-foot boat. I mean, we won more races than any boat in the Great Lakes in 1979. It was a lot of fun. It's the only time I really saw him. He worked half days, Saturdays, and so on. But anyway, let me give you an idea. So, or an example of the bad investments and bad advice. Attorneys, right? He should have patented um, all the pieces that he created to actually do what he did. So a periodontist would take bone graft from other parts of your body and rebuild your mouth. That's what he did. That's what he figured out. He created all the instruments and he never patented them. Nobody told him, you better patent this. So someone got smart and said, "Oh, look, there's no patent on these. I'm going to patent them." I mean, are you kidding me? So anyway, and the last stock he owned was Pan Am. Did anybody know what happened to Pan Am? Pan Am went bankrupt. So he didn't know. He was too busy taking care of people, right? So the nuns would come to him. He never charged them. Rabbis, priests, he never charged them. He thought it was the right thing to do. He came from a different world. So anyway, now Black Swan event, what was it? And you and I know about Black Swan events. They come from left field. When you get T-boned in a car, if anyone's ever heard of that, you go through the intersection and out of nowhere, someone wasn't paying attention to the light and you get hit at full speed. That health event reverberates through generations. He didn't put in his date book. He said, "Here's the day I'm not never going to walk again." It's something that happened. He never thought about it. It was day after day, week after week, planned to see the patients, never-ending line of patients to see. And very wealthy billionaires came to him because he was the best in the world. Well, he didn't have his head up. He wasn't paying attention. He didn't study. He didn't know what his weaknesses were. Okay. He should have had multiple advisors helping him. The truly wealthy I've got as clients, the number one's 80 million and the lowest net worth's 250,000. The truly wealthy people, they've got multiple advisors. They may not know everything, but they've hedged even themselves. I mean, I would love to have all the assets, right, for under management. The right thing to do is have multiple advisors. They may not understand everything, but they can hire and fire advisors very easily. So that would have helped immensely. Another thing that happened that we caught wind of this later on is faulty estate planning. Okay. It was a lawyer, a judge, and a second wife got in cahoots. And today's value of my father's estate and today's value is in the tens of millions that was stolen. Now, his dad was a doctor, but an MD. Okay, so periodontist, his dad was an MD. They don't go to business school. They don't, or they didn't. Now there are a lot of doctors that actually go to business school and they're becoming doctors for the money instead of caring for people. So anyway, you didn't know. My great grandfather had a second marriage, and he's way, way down, far, far away from Chicago, and they didn't have internet, didn't have cell phones. They said, "Hey, how's Dad doing?" "Oh, he's fine." Well, he got pneumonia, and they took the casement of the windows out. They took the casement out in January. The guy died from pneumonia. Well, you couldn't just drive down there. We're talking, they didn't have expressways and things like that back in the 1920s. So anyway, what are you going to do? They didn't know. They didn't know what to do. They had no idea. Just go back to work and life goes on. They assumed, oh, gee, Dad wanted me to get 5% of the estate. That's what he thought. Okay, I guess he shared it with his sister, and that's it. That's gone. So they didn't put that in a date book and say, okay, here's the day I lose my legacy, right? It happens, and I'm going to tell you some stories. I mean, it just blows my mind. Money makes people do weird things, and I've seen so much stolen from the golden children. Everybody's fine till money gets involved and spouses get involved and stuff like that. So I saw what happened to my dad because he wasn't paying attention. He needed to be honored for what he was doing, is blessing people. He changed the world. I was with him flying around to see him. They pack rooms of standing room only. We were in France and Mexico and all over the place. I didn't understand what was happening at the time, but he gave it all. He gave everything he had and he lost it all. So all the rainy day, the sunny day friends disappeared. As soon as he was no longer a big shot, there were only three friends. Three. He used to have parties at the house, and people from all over the country would fly in for this. And only three of his friends never saw the wheelchair. They never saw it. When he entered the wheelchair in 1981, they looked right through it like it wasn't even there. Everyone else, you never saw him again. It was amazing, you know. So a lot of pain, a lot of sadness, a lot of stress. And the problem is these financial issues reverberate through generations. You make a bad decision, it's going to affect your spouse, your kids, your grandkids, and it's a cascading event. I'm here in business. I fight for people. Doesn't mean they're going to listen. I can't drag anyone to heaven. I can't. You can't drag anyone to heaven. Okay. Many people don't want to listen. They just don't want to see the forest through the trees, which is a shame. You have to learn when to stop, right? I can't force people to do things. The point is, it's so easy to lose money. It's so hard to make it. There's so many people want to take it from you. Institutions, we talk about Wall Street. Wall Street's a casino. I'm really sorry. I actually worked at the Chicago Board of Trade Futures Exchange. Did you ever see the movie with Eddie Murphy? And he's down and gotta remember the name of it.
Trading places.
Trading places. Yeah, I was actually on the floor of the Chicago Board of Trade, trading 30-year governments, 5-year notes, munis, currencies. I was in my early 20s when I was doing that. I started there when I was 14, became a member in 1998. So I saw things. I saw the manipulations. I saw numbers going right over my head. I've been in the trading pit, and then they would revise the number. Oh, sorry, the unemployment isn't up, it's actually down. This happened all the time. So people got the information upstairs, placed a trade, you thought it was real, and then they revise it, and then it goes again. So, and they're making profits. They're the people that control the information are in charge, guys. I got news for you. And I got firsthand knowledge. It blew my mind. But what are you going to do? You don't know when it's real, when it's not. I remember they had runners of orders back then. There was no real electronics like email or anything like that, no texting. It was just all done by trading card. And I remember a really old lady. She looked really, really old. And there aren't any runners. You're not 98 years old, okay? So I remember this walking right in front of me in the 30-year government pit. I was not a member yet, okay? And I'm standing about 10 feet away, standing at a desk. I'm not going to say the name of it. They're probably out of business, but I'm standing next to it. My brother's in there. He's one of the world's largest bond traders. I wasn't a member yet, right? So I was working for a clearinghouse. This person comes up, just to give you an example, this person comes up and I said, what? I'm looking and a 1,000 lot order is put in. These are as rare as maybe three a year back then. This is back in the 80s, early 80s. And dude, I'm not gonna tell, I can't tell you who it was, but this guy was in a green jacket. Okay. He's a broker. He's got paper to sell or buy for the public because you didn't have internet to bring the buyer and seller together. So the broker would get paid $1, 25 for every contract. A thousand lot order in any market anywhere. Everyone's like, what is happening? So anyway, um, the market, so he bought, right? He bought whatever it was, and he went to the right next to me. I'm standing next to the desk, and they said, "You're filled. You bought 1,000 at six." And he goes, "We don't know the order. You're hung." They would take their tie and pull their tie up and say, "You're hung." And everybody loved this broker. He was the nicest guy from an old world, right? Respectful, dressed nice, and everything. Always never swear words or anything. And this pit had 1,000 people standing in it, and they all looked and saying, "You're hung on 1,000." If the market moves just one tick against you, that's $31,000 you just lost. 30 now 60, 90, 120, ba, 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 and the market's going like this. I'm standing there. He's screaming, you're hung, you own it." Well, a number comes out, and guess what happened? The market tanked. Was '06, went all the way down 30 ticks. Now you can mention 30 times 30,000. You go ahead and do the math on that. This guy's out. This is in about 60 seconds. Okay. He's trying to get out now. He bought. They're saying he owns it. Now he's part of the sellers trying to, right, to get out of it. So here's what happened. The government, and it wasn't the government, the people who control the numbers said, "Oh no, sorry, it's revised. The numbers revert." It took off like a rocket. It went 30 points for his favor. This guy made $1 million in about 6 minutes, just like that, right in front of me. He throws up his trading cards. No one ever saw this guy again. He threw up his trading card. And this guy next to me is going, "We know that order. We know the order. We know it." Everybody turned around and were screaming at this guy, who's a dirtbag. This guy was a real a sleep, whatever. I'm not going to,
Yeah.
and everybody knew what he's trying to do is steal the order, put it in his pocket. They said, "You're hung." Now he wants it. Well, here's what happened. Remember the runner that was 98 years old, 90 years old, working really slow, was someone in a mask. It was a 26-year-old. He had a scam and he got too greedy. He was doing it for 100 lots and things like that, right? They ended up catching this guy, but what he would do, if the order went his way, the old lady would come, take it, and then he would write his number on it. Oh, I just made 100,000, 200,000, three. That's just one thing that I've seen down there that would blow your mind. So are there cheaters in this industry that I'm in? They're cheaters, liars, users. They're all over the place. And this is the public couldn't see this stuff. I'm there. I was standing in the market. I saw. So anyway, the point is it's heavily regulated for a reason. You only need one bad apple out of 1,000, right? And people get hurt. So bad advisors, bad brokers, bad desk people, I've seen stuff. I get several movies we could make out of what I saw down there in 10 years. So the point is, I've seen what can happen. I've seen the devastation. I've seen the manipulation. I've seen the deceit, and people don't know, and they assume everything's okay. It's not. It doesn't matter how successful you are. There are listeners to your podcast that are probably incredibly wealthy and they think they got a handle on it, and they don't. And they think they do, but they don't. I deal with some really bullheaded people. I've had, the radio show people would call in, and I did a lot of seminars, right? This one guy comes in after a seminar, and he looked. Have you ever seen I mean, a truly a billionaire that back in the 80s? And I bet you, actually, this was in the 90s, or I'm sorry, that he was in 2009 when I saw him. This guy looked like he owned the universe, but he was scared. You could see he looked like a deer in the headlights. He was standing in my doorway. He went to a seminar. He's asking for help. He goes, "What do I do?" He lost about 80% of his net worth. He was worth 62 million. He sold a container business. I can't tell you who he was. He's probably dead now. He created it from nothing. A simple, simple, simple guy who crunched, gave up probably 80 hours a week. This guy was working. He figured it out. He mastered it and sold it for 25 million. He grew it from 25 million to 62. He was giving loans to people. It was, oh, you want to buy some real estate, condos, buildings, whatever. He was getting into ETFs back then. He was getting into all sorts of stuff, leverage stuff, right? So this is, imagine between 2001 and 2008, what happened if you go check out in the back of what happened in the market. He was riding that up, right? I'm a genius. I'm a genius. I can do anything. I sold my business. I'm a genius. Well, he wasn't a genius. He was well over leveraged. And when margin calls happen, like when you're a trader in trading places, it's the next day. Your house is gone. It's not you make a mistake. It's not like, well, I'll do better next time. No, it's gone. The broker house, they'll come, they don't care what you've made a boo-boo. It doesn't matter. So anyway, I don't know what ended up happening to him. It's really sad. He's probably died penniless. I couldn't tell you. But an ego will kill you so fast. Matter of fact, I just saw a person from the radio show. Actually, he didn't come to the office. He called in and he's in a panic. He seemed like a nice guy. He goes, "Why?" And I'm talking to him. And he said he had lost 800 grand in one day. Imagine that. He's 62. He wants to retire in a year. Unfortunately, he lost his job. Unfortunately. So he decided, oh, I can do this E-Trade, or I'm not, I didn't say E-Trade. I'm saying I'm just going to buy and sell. I'm going to become my own advisor. I know what I do, and I can do it just like everyone else. I can do this. I can do this. So anyway, he grew a modest amount. It wasn't modest. It was about 220,000. He grew that to 800, or that was $800,000. Okay. Well, he lost it in one day. He said, well, I'm going to retire. I'm going to have one big day. I'm going to make a quick 5%. Well, some stock jockey got a hold of him. Now, this guy thinks he knows everything. Again, here's ego we're talking about, right? And it was some kind of probably penny stock or something. He didn't give me the details on it. The point is, he was supposed to get all his money back the next day. What's 5% of 800,000? Quick 40,000. Guess what? He lost all of it. It's gone. So what do you think he's going to do? He was worth $1.2 million total, including his house. He probably leveraged the rest of what he had, compressing it and leveraging it, trying to make it all back. I'm sure it's probably all gone, you know. So ego is a massive, massive problem, and I see it all the time. Especially now because the internet makes it so easy. You know, Wall Street's, oh, it's so easy to do this. Just the red, sell on red and buy on green, and everything's fine until one bad day. One bad day comes. I was a broker's assistant down in the bond pit, and I would come in. I also collected cards, trading cards. I went to this man, I can't tell you what his name was, but he was in the center of the bond pit. I was the last human being to talk to this guy. He had one bad day, went home and blew his head off. So, and this is a professional in the market, not a theory. He'd been there for years, had a great living. He had one bad day. So, as far as the listeners go, you want to get a buffer. You want to listen to someone, get multiple advisors. You can always fire an advisor, you know, hire an advisor, fire faster, right? So they're all out there. Check their background. It's not nowadays it's so easy to check somebody's background. The problem is what I'm running into is that we'll have people come in from the radio show or whatever, and they got advice from their best friend, told them to buy this or sell this, or and they'll come in having lost a whole bunch of money. Well, they'll say, "Oh, gee, I thought because I knew Sandra or I knew Bill or I knew Bob or whatever." And the problem is you don't hear the horror stories of investing at a cocktail party. You don't hear the bad stuff ever. No one goes, "Hey, Bob, did you know I lost 200 grand last week?" Like, no one's telling you that. All they're
Yeah,
doing is
exactly.
telling you their success story. Ooh, I made 50% on Nvidia. Well, how much did he have in it? I don't know, $2,000, maybe it became 4,000. I don't know. So the point is, and I don't really blame people. They're overwhelmed, they're scared, they're full of fear. Fear makes you do bad things, right? So let's talk about emotion for a little bit, if we could. Okay,
Well,
emotion isn't. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
we're gonna break this conversation up a little bit because this is great information. I love the stories, but we're gonna run out of time. So you can share that in a moment. I just want to touch a little bit more on your creation of Kohler Financials, right? What did you know going in? What made you want to do it for one thing? And did you have a complete idea at that point when you started what you were getting into, or has it been an evolution throughout the last 35 years?
That's a great question. Okay, so I originally started Kollar Wealth Advisors under a different name. That was way back in like 1995. Way back there. It was a totally different environment back then. I just wanted to have it. It was a licensing. There's many series exams that you need to take, but I was in the industry, right? So I knew what I was doing. The one one exam I took, oh my gosh, this was such a mind bender. I thought I knew everything, and oh my God, I couldn't believe it's the hardest test of my life. So I had it, and I didn't really use it as a registered investment advisor. I didn't use it. Okay, it was called Kohler Financial Strategies back in the Stone Age. So then I went into the brokerage community, okay, where become basically an employee. So I was really good at seminars, was very good at it. Back then, you'd pack a house and have 200 people in a room without any problem. This is before the internet, you know. So anyway, the point is, you want to help people, you need to find them. Well, I don't want to do all the back office work and all that stuff. So you go to a broker dealer, you sign on with them, and they have standards and due diligence and things like that, which is really, really healthy. I knew about a lot of this stuff. There were a lot of people. I'm telling you right now, there are people that in this business should not be in this business. They don't know what they're doing. They're in it for money. It would blow your mind. Not everybody, but I'd say a good 10, 12% of them are just not in because I've seen it. So anyway, I leverage my time by hooking up to a broker. Let's say, whatever, you can pick a name. They kind of handle that, all a lot of paperwork transfers, things like that for you. I got burned by broker dealers. Okay, I'm not going to go into names. I can tell you stories of back office things and what they did to their own people and what they did to clients that I saw. And so I would leave and I'd go to another one, right? I kept seeing this. I only had a good experience with one little small broker dealer, and they were as ethical as the new driven snow. And I loved those guys, but I moved on to get other opportunity in seminars. I actually became a manager for that broker dealer. It was the fastest growing BD in the country for what it was for its size at the time. But anyway, the point is I can't get into detail on that, but I had to do some massive legal moves from what I saw, what they were doing to not only to their clients, but their employees. So after that happened, I went to one other broker dealer and they ended up messing with my website. I'll never forget it. One day I came into work. The website I paid a fortune back in the Stone Age. This was a lot of work. It was beautiful. 80% of it was changed. They said, well, we're going to do this for compliance. I said, no, you're not. I said, what are you doing? This is it's my property. Well, we want to change a few things. I said, that was it. I said, I'm not going to be part of a BD for the rest of my life. All you guys you're just manipulating. Uh, you're making my life a lot harder than it needs to be. And also taking, a percentage of my income when they didn't do anything. Most of the time they didn't. If I paid them 5% of my income, that's fine. But they started manipulating those numbers too, at least down here in the States. So I started my own BD or my own registered investment advisory. Okay, again, but I own it. I have no outside influence. I am free to do what's right for the client, and it's not manipulated. So that's why Kollar Wealth Advisors exists because I'm in control. In control of my compliance. No one's shutting down my website. No one's manipulating my clients. No one's, so
I
it's a
love it.
lot more work. Well, I mean,
Great.
it's a lot of work, but
Oh, it
I mean,
is. It is a lot of work. I'm
I
just
can
going to
sleep
enter.
at night though.
Well, and that's good. I'm going to interject a little bit. There is a lot of commonalities what you're talking about. We have broker dealers up here too. Our compliance is a lot different than yours down there, and I talk from experience. I was a branch manager and a compliance officer for probably 18 years, so a
Whoa, you
long
could tell
time.
some stories.
Oh, please. Yeah, me and another guy, along with me having my own brokerage with 9 agents at the time, we branched 243 agents on top of
Wow.
running our own separate people. Right. So
Wow.
I was quite the workaholic, but that's for another day. We can share stories, have a coffee, get on a call, and I can already tell we're going to get along great. I just don't want to miss anything. But yes, I understand that broker dealer thing and being able to control and how they manipulate and et cetera, et cetera. I finally found a good one. I've been with them now since 2007. They've gone through some evolutions. You go through some staff changes because even though you can be a great company, you can still have bad apples, like you said, within any structure. And I ended up stopping being a compliance officer and gave up my certification because it's a specific different certification you have to get on a federal level across Canada. I gave it up because I got tired of babysitting the stupid
That's
because
what you're doing.
they knew better.
Glorified babysitter. That's what I found.
They knew better, so they weren't ignorant. People listening and watching, ignorance and stupidity are two different things. Ignorance is not knowing. Stupidity is knowing and still doing the wrong thing. right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that I just thought I'd interject that a little bit, and we're going to move on though. Thank you so much. We could have probably 4 or 5 episodes, just you and I, and your storytelling's amazing, by the way. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're
So
welcome.
yes, I just don't want to miss because we only got about 30 minutes left here. So I have a few other things I'd like to, because I still want to talk about your book too. So, right. But thank you so much for what you've shared. It is so impactful. I totally get everything you're saying because you're talking to a guy that's been through it, right? Dealt with it,
And I
walked away,
appreciate
walked
that.
away, walked away from
You're still
brokerages.
standing. Yeah.
Oh, I'm tenacious, brother. I believe tenacity is a superpower. My dad taught me that because he was a very successful entrepreneur, had many advisors. I'm one of his advisors. He still has a lot. He's 85 years old, still ticking and sharp as a tack, right?
Good for him.
Oh
Good for
yeah.
him.
Very, very much so. Thank you. So let's get into the gap nobody talks about, right? You talk about, reading and researching here, you talk about the difference between accumulation and distribution and why it matters so much, right? Can you break down in plain language for someone who's never heard about that and share stories?
Okay, so here's, like I said before, it's so easy to, I mean, spend money is easy in this country. Saving it's really hard. So where's all the money in the country? Real estate, 401ks. That's where it is. It doesn't matter. Now, why is that though? Automatic withdrawal for the mortgage, automatic deduction from the paycheck. That's the only, otherwise people would be spending it left and right. Because money, did you know that 40% of people, I think it's 5 million plus in net worth, are afraid of running out of money? Did you know that? Now, this sounds crazy. The
Yeah.
listeners are probably think you and I are both crazy, but imagine having $5 million and worried you're going to run out of it. Well, what's the emotion there? Keep up with the Joneses? And I call it not look syndrome. Don't look at my situation. They're so busy living day to day, week to week. They're not paying attention. They know they're spending too much. It's so easy to spend. It's hard to save. Where's the emotion? Budget. You can have to budget. Okay. I mean, if you look at Warren Buffett, that guy's a tightwad. The only thing he's got is a private plane. He's a tightwad. I'm not saying everybody needs to be a tightwad, but you need to plan for the future. You need to know, you see what your trajectory is. It going like this? Is it going sideways? Is it going down? And God forbid, in someone like that, they're worried 40%. 40% of them are worried. What if you get a health episode? Someone has a stroke, heart attack. Guess what? And you're burning fuel you don't have. Your airplane isn't going to make it very far. So unfortunately, we see that. What about a divorce? Look at AI coming in out of nowhere. People haven't planned for that. Even planners haven't planned for it. Hundreds of thousands of people have already lost their job due to AI just this year alone. Watch what's going to happen with the extension of this year. That's a black swan event out of nowhere, right? So we're talking about emotions. What if give you an example about a lawsuit award? What's the emotion tied with that? I see quite a few people. They'll have a lawsuit award. What are they seeking? Stability, right? They can be overly cautious instead of overly aggressive. Someone experience a market loss. What's the emotion with that? Anger. Well, you can make some serious bad decisions when you're angry, right? I've seen that. We talked about inheritance issues. What happens with inheritance? What's the emotion? They don't want to screw it up. There's emotion of happy, scared, thankful. Emotion, long-term care event. What happened to my dad? Health issue. Comes out of nowhere. Sadness and worries involved. Every time I see someone in my office, there's some kind of emotion involved. There's some kind of emotion somewhere. And if it's not impacting your listeners now, it will shortly, just like we're saying about AI. So anyway, I think I'm getting off on a tangent here. So go ahead and fire away at your next question. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. You're passionate, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? It really isn't. So your storytelling is great. Just for the people that are listening in Canada, a 401k is a RRSP in Canada, right? Just to give you that connection. To what Mark is saying. So real estate RRSP, same sort of pardon me, same similar situation. We have the same problems. We're just 10 times smaller than you, but we have the same circumstances of people living in fear, right? And it's because nobody's ever told them or sat them down. They don't understand the rules of the money game. They've been good at making money so they can have 5, 10, 15 million dollars. I look at some of my high net worth clients and they still are worried, and it's improper planning because they've stuck with one person or they listen to all their wealthy so-called buddies, which a lot of them probably are broke as sin. And I've seen it time and time again. And those listening or watching, if you don't have money or if you have money, it doesn't change the fact that you need to understand what's going on behind the scenes. You have to have some form of knowledge. You don't have to be an expert. I don't want you to think you should go and do, as Mark had mentioned, people are going out and running online now with robo advisors. They're doing all this different things. They're listening to their friends instead of actually sitting down and putting in the effort. And they put more effort. Stats show in North America, it's not just Canada, people put more effort into their 2-week vacation that they have yearly
That's
than they do in
true.
their financial planning. And
That's a fact.
it's unfortunate because it starts right at the root level of learned behavior from our families to the schooling system, not just in North America and a lot of countries around the world. They're starting to, but it's a little too late when you look at the baby boomers to the X generation to the millennials. You can still teach people, but their mindset is so locked in, right? There's 6 inches between their ears. They don't want to admit they made mistakes. They don't want to admit that they're ignorant. It's okay to admit you're ignorant, those watching or listening. It's okay to say, hey, you know what? I don't know. Here's a book. I'll say to them, here's a podcast, right? In the older days, it wasn't older days, shouldn't say old, in older days, I'd give them books. Or I'd say, you know what? Whether you ever utilize me or not, let's get together. Let's have a coffee. And I do last minute meetings like that. Wouldn't it? I might not have been prepared for it. I've done so many napkin presentations at a coffee shop to somebody just to teach
I've
them,
done that
just
too.
just to get through the 6 inches between their ears,
Yes, yes,
just to
yes.
give them a little bit of self doubt about what they're currently doing, that little spark, and then saying, hey, if you want, I'll help water it for you. I'll help
Mm,
decide against it. And if you're unsure, go talk to a few other people. I have no problems. I'm going to earn not just your business. I'm going to earn your trust. And I'm here to create a long-term relationship. And Mark, that is one thing that people have lost in this industry. And I've spoken down in the US. I've got lots of friends down there in finance. And, at the end of the day, I keep on sounding like a broken record, stuck in that track, right? You need to build relationships.
yep,
If you do not become a good relationship builder, anybody that does business around you or does business with you is one moment away from leaving you because you didn't give them the trust and the ability for them to deflect what they're hearing from the outside world, their associations and the news. And now we have social media. I have my clients call me up or text me, hey, we need to have a chat. What's up? Well, such and such, blah, blah, blah. I told them what I do, what I have, or what I've been doing, and I was excited. And they, basically deflated my balloon. But I'm calling you up because, I trust you. And
well,
they
your
give me the
family,
opportunity.
that's what you
Yeah,
want. You
we
want them
give
as far, right? You want
exactly.
them
And
as,
they give
you
me the
want to treat them like
opportunity.
family, right?
Right?
Yeah,
I've been to their weddings. I've been to birthday parties. I've been to funerals. Why? Because they're extended family. I treat them the way that I wished I would have been treated before I got into this industry, Mark. Right?
exactly, exactly.
The lack of information and my ignorance, right? But I had a kind person that said,
Yeah.
"Hey, you need to get into this industry."
Well, you
And
want to
that's a
sleep at
right?
night. That's
Yeah.
what you're doing because you have a conscience, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, there are
absolutely.
bad lawyers, bad accountants, bad doctors, bad
Everything,
whatever.
everything.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get into the next segment. I want to talk about, the retirement navigator. But one thing I will mention though, people in general want to succeed. They don't know where to go. They've got a compass that never points true north. It's constantly spinning. They're just feeling helpless. And thank goodness there's people like you with a book like we're going to get into right away that are willing to sit down and create that relationship. Is it easy? No, it
Yeah.
can be really hard. But is it hard? No, it can be really easy. It all depends. Are you the willing? What glasses are you looking through at your financial picture? Whoever's listening to this, there is so much information that can help you. I know it's overwhelming. Find a good advisor. Find somebody that wants to build that relationship. I have clients, honestly, you talk about having multiple advisors. I'm their only advisor they have left because they've been with me 18, 20 years. I've earned that trust to where they would ask questions to somebody else they were utilizing, and it was always very, press hard three copies,
Transactional,
very
transactional.
transactional. And I found my business and my life and my stress because I had health events because of this industry when I first started because I take things personal. At the end of the day, I'm where I want to be, and I want the same clientele to come to me that are wanting to be educated, get
Yep.
past ignorance. They don't need to be me, but they feel comfortable enough to call me up and say, "Hey, my friend says I'm stupid for doing this." My brother says, "Oh, you should take all your money and put it in this penny stock." Or for those that are listening, look it up if you don't know what a penny stock is. But at the end of the day, there's so much we can do to change people, and that's why I have this
You're
show.
bringing them
Right?
peace, Dwight. Dwight,
Yeah,
let's, I mean,
yeah.
peace in a chaotic world. I was just with a
Oh,
client
yeah.
21 years yesterday. I love this guy. He was the head janitor at a large corporation. He retired with 1.5 million. Can you believe that? He had that 401k, but he knew what he didn't know. This is way back in 2005.
Yeah.
I just saw him, and he actually works for the Cubs, baseball team here, the Red
Wow.
over at Wrigley. He
One of
came
my
in.
favorite teams.
This guy, you would have loved this. His wife's got these little tennis shoes with the C for Cub. Okay,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is back in 2005. He comes in with one of those satin Cubs jackets like the players wear, and his phone went off. It said, "Take me out to the ball game," was his ring. I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." I said, what is going on with this guy?" So we sat down for a while, and I said, "Listen, for men, when you retire, you've got to have a purpose. Women
Mhm.
retire, kind of go just sideways. A guy goes like this, up and down until they redefine their purpose." I
Lack of
said,
goal setting.
"Yeah, if for a guy it's different. Women don't understand this. But a
Yeah.
chemical change of some kind happens, and I knew it for this little guy who was a head janitor. Imagine that, 1.5 million. He worked at the right place at the right time, and God bless him for being there, okay? But I said, "You got to go work for the Cubs." He goes, "No, I could." I said, "Yeah, you're going to go. You need to go do this. You'll just be a ticket taker. Go for it." He goes, "No, I don't know. I said, "What do you have to lose?" I said, "You retire." Guess what? The guy's been there ever since. I just now took a photo of his ring, the championship ring from 2016. They gave every single worker there, the janitors to the ticket
Wow.
takers,
I didn't know
everybody
that.
got a ring. Listen to this. This will blow your mind. This is fascinating. I just learned this yesterday. So I put it on my finger, right? And I'm taking a picture of it. You don't get how often you get to do that. So he brought it yesterday. So anyway, someone else that works there, one of his buddies, went to go sell the ring. His ring because he needed money. Okay. The family that runs the Cubs found out about it, fired him immediately, and said, "You signed a document that you would never sell this ring. So now you got to give it back to us and we'll pay you $1. Anyone who tries to sell it, they get $1 for it from the family." It sounds crazy. They want to keep all of them, and they're going to probably put them in a glass, thing eventually. But what a cool story from a
Yeah,
normal
absolutely.
Joe who took a risk, a good risk, right? Where he's passionate, and he's had a blade. The guy's getting paid to be a ticket taker. He's living in heaven. He knows all the players. What a simple thing for a
He
guy to
has a
do.
passion and he gets to feed it. That's perfect.
that beautiful? No,
Yeah, it
we've
is.
made a fortune for this little guy, and he's having a great life. He's going on a cruise to Alaska, and he's going to Paris, and he's going to see Normandy. He was in, the veterans here, Vietnam veterans. So he was all excited. The guy has no worries. What did we do? We leveraged his life. We just took care of his estate planning again yesterday. He
And
had
you
some
build a
updates.
relationship, though. You
Oh,
build
oh
a
my gosh, I
relationship. This
love
is
this
all
guy.
about, I want people to hear this. This is all about building that relationship,
I'm
right?
giving
That
his wife a
connection.
hug. Oh yeah, this is like
Wow.
family. These people having clients like that bake you muffins. I mean, come on. That's as good as it gets.
I've had artwork made for me. I've had eggs sent home with me of clients that live out on a farm, and they send me home when I see them when you do reviews. How many dozen eggs do you want today, Dwight, to take home?
I'll take them. There's
Right?
nothing better if you can know
Oh,
someone like that, you got it made.
I've had
Eggs are
baking.
actually really good for you.
I've had food given to me from some of my Filipino clients. Here, take this home. Do this. Do that. People listening or watching, you may not be able to wrap your mind around what Mark and I are talking about, but I'll tell you right now, it is one of the most fulfilling things. And money is great. You need it to survive, you need it to prosper in a lot of ways. But relationships are a financial bank that I thrive on, right? That is just, it'll never change. I have the warm and fuzzies. I love I walk into a house, like you were saying, getting a hug from a client, or you know what I mean? It's just, it's
It's a
great. But
privilege.
yeah,
It's a
we're gonna,
privilege. So the
let's get on to
book,
your
The
book though
Retirement
soon. Yeah.
Navigator,
Yeah.
right? I designed and put together this book so the simple person can grab it and handle a lot of these not all the problems. There's no way how are you going to put that in a book? Not everything, but actionable things that the average person, first of all, they're not aware of things, right? But for them to go, and it's a story, it takes them simple through it. They can go, wow, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this.
And I got two
And
questions before you share too much about the book, too.
yeah,
One
go
of them
ahead.
would be, and the reason I do this is, again, I'm not novice at this. I've been doing this here, like I told you earlier, coming up on 300 episodes. When I wrote my book, I found it to be very cathartic, and people kind of chuckle. There was things I discovered about myself that I never give myself acknowledgement for in the past. But once I start writing it and I'm reading it, there were the pat myself in the back moments because I forgot to celebrate, which is bad when you're driven. You need to celebrate, take some, not too much time, but enough time to give yourself the acknowledgement, right? And then I literally had times where I was reading the book as I come back and forth from the editors, I was kicking myself in the pants, going, you know what? I really didn't deal with that the best. I could have dealt with that better. Or you kind of half-assed dealt with that, Dwight, but
Oh
you didn't
yeah.
deal with it good
Oh yeah,
enough. So
yeah, yeah.
what was it like before we get into the stories of the book? What was it like writing your book? How did it affect you?
First of all, it was way harder than I thought it would be. Okay. Because I know so many technical things, I got to break them down into simple. That was a huge problem. And what are the big ideas that I need to make sure they get a grasp on? So when you just said, and it was very interesting because I know so much, but to have that journey of breaking things down, that was amazing to me. Because I'm like, wait a
Hmm.
minute, because I know so much stuff, but this is really cool, and this is really cool, and they know to know that, and kind of I was like, but I had to condense, this down to this. So would I do another one? It took a lot of time. I'd probably do one or two more, but that, that's I don't know. I don't know if I have the
Oh, it's
time
an
to pull that off,
awakening. It's an
but
awakening, brother.
it's a treasured
Oh,
tool. It's a tool
oh,
now
yeah.
because instead of them asking me questions or not asking me questions because they don't know enough to ask questions, right? That's part of the problem. They need to ask questions on things that are new to them or things that are historically important to them, whatever. This book will wake them up to where the big potholes, I call them torpedoes. Okay, financial
Yes, please
torpedoes.
talk about that. I was just about to ask the financial leaks that happen.
Well, financial leaks. Now, I'm going to talk about a couple things here, but I started off, we're talking about egos again, right? It's so easy to be distracted. It is so easy to get blindsided. It is so easy to think you've got it all figured out. You've got to leverage the expertise, tools, and people around you if you're going to win the game. You cannot do this by yourself. Oh, everybody says online, boy, it's a casino. Please don't think I've got other stories I can tell you of people that have butchered their entire futures and lost everything because they thought it was easy. It's not easy. When you go to a casino, you're in $1 billion institution and you're coming thinking you're actually going to make money walking out of there. Guess who's making 2% on every dollar that you put? Well, what's going to happen over time? They want to keep you there with the drinks and whatever. It's a lot of flash, a lot of pomp and circumstance. This is not that easy. This business, I'm telling you right now, folks, and you got AI coming online, it's going to look like, oh, I've got my electronic advisor helping you. Really? Do you want a robot drilling your teeth or flying your plane? So, do you want a trusted pilot? Do you want a trusted dentist, or do you want to wing it? So that's coming up. But anyway, black swan events, explaining what they are. I spend a lot of time. We talk about torpedoes. So 2008, I told you about the man 62 million. Look what happened to him. In a year and a half, he probably end up losing everything. He thought he was the king of the universe, right? So black swan events can be health related. You can get sued, get divorced, right? There's all sorts of things and nobody's paying attention. They got their blind side. Everything's fine. You better have an income stream somewhere that you can count on. I call it red money and green money. I talk about that a little bit in the book. Green money's better be there no matter what happens. Red money's there for, you want to beat inflation, you have to take some risk. So what is it? Take 100 minus your age. That's how much red money. That I tell people to keep it simple so they understand. I get people in my office all the time. They're all in red money. When you're talking 60 years old, you can get your face ripped off in a matter of weeks and lose pretty much what you've got. Black swan events happen. If you look, let me back up for a second. If you were in the Depression, okay, in 1928, you invested 100,000 in the S&P 500, which is the most dynamic, largest companies we've got, and it was in existence back in 1928. If you had 100,000 invested in the S&P, didn't touch it, no fees, no transactions, you just bought it, you held it. The 500 best companies we had at the time. It took 24 years to make your money back without touching it. That's a black swan event, right? What happened in 2000 to 2008, we call it the Great Recession. 9/11 happened, then the banking crisis in 2008. If you invested right before 2011 happened, now what was happening? The dot-com, everything took off like a rocket, right? Well, it retraced plus 9/11 happened. The market lost like 40%. Okay. It made most of it back. If you were in the S&P 500, you almost made your money back in 2008, almost. And then the banking crisis happened. So if you invested 100 grand right before 9/11, it took 14 years to make your money back without touching it. You didn't touch it. No fees, no nothing. If you just bought that index, how are you going to retire? How you have to have outflow. Where's it going to come from? If you're selling your positions to spend money to live in a down market, that's financial suicide. We call it a death spiral. Then we're talking about fees, torpedoes, leaks. Excess fees are like a cancer. They eat away slowly. You don't see it. You just don't feel it. I had a lady, we have her statement. In 1 year, she retired. Her and her husband retired at the same age. She paid 45,000 bucks in fees and she had no idea. And this is from a big name company. You know it. Every one of your listeners have heard of it. They put them in all these mutual funds and insurance stuff and she had no idea she was paying that kind of money. She had ended up making money, right? A little bit. She goes, "Oh, I made some money. You don't understand. You're bleeding. They're bleeding her dry." Well, that's an extenuating circumstance. That's not normal. That was the worst case I've ever seen. But the point is, what are you getting for what you're paying for? You have to pay. I was laughing. I was just laughing the other day. I was talking to this man, and he didn't want to, pay us a 1% fee for us to manage. He's like, well, I can do it better online. I said, sir, when's the last time you had one plate of dinner from one waitress that you'll never see again and you paid her 20%? I said, this isn't your food. This is going to keep you eating for the rest of your life. And he looked at me funny. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I have to get paid. If you want to do better than the market, you have to pay somebody. If you want to get from New York to LA faster than a normal airline, you're going to have to pay for the. So there are people that are too tight and don't want to pay fees, right? There are people that are paying fees they're not aware of, right? So either way, you have to get a handle on it and you're going to have to
It's
do research.
knowledge. It's knowledge.
Yeah,
Knowledge
they
is
just have
power,
to. Yeah,
right?
well, thank good for the internet's a blessing if they would use it and do their
More than one
research.
source, so
Right,
the internet can
exactly,
be a blessing and
100%.
the internet can be a curse, right?
What's the
So
next? Yeah, the next issue, the taxes. Hold on a second. There are four tax baskets in the United States. There aren't 20, not 12, not two. There are four. So we call the red basket the after-tax money growing taxable, right? That's the American default strategy. They make any money, they throw it in a CD or they'll throw it in a savings account or checking or whatever.
it
The
never keeps
yellow
up with
baskets,
inflation.
right. Imagine if you could make four, let's just say in a CD in the United States, let's say you're making 4%. Okay, just whatever. Let's say it's four. Would you rather make four and pay no tax, or would you like to make four? It's a real simple, that's the second bucket. That's the yellow bucket. It's after tax money growing tax deferred. Comes out taxable, but it's a free, simple thing to do that, you know? The blue basket, that's 401ks, 403bs, 401, what's that? Before tax money, growing tax deferred, coming out taxable. The green basket, there's only four. The last one is the green basket. After tax money, growing tax deferred, coming out tax free. What's that like? A Roth, okay? Or income, low income
We
housing and
have
oil
we
and
have this
gas.
stuff too. We just have different names for quite a
Yeah.
bit of it, right?
But
So
it's
yeah,
so easy. You got to have money in each of those. And how do you attack those baskets when you're retired? You got to hit them in order. You don't
100%.
randomly attack. So the other thing is protecting principal. Can you do that? So in the book, we talk about that. People aren't aware of it. They don't think. They want to make as much money as the guy at the cocktail party that said, oh, I made 50% last week. Like, well, you know what? You need an income stream. It is a fact that people that are on pensions are the happiest retirees because they know the money's coming in no matter what. At least their basics, right? They have it coming in. They have a higher quality of life. They sleep better. They actually have better health. This is a fact. You can read it. So
Well, of
I'm
course.
talking to all the listeners. And next is market timing. I have people, intelligent engineer type brains coming in that think they know when the bottom of the market is and they know when the top is. And that's not the case. I haven't seen anybody. When I was a trader at the Board of Trade, there were 2 days I actually bought the low of the market. I was the one human being on the planet, on the entire planet. On that day, I happened to buy it. You can, and I was standing in the market. You don't know where the top and the bottom is, and actually nobody is. So you got to remove market timing. And number seven is probate. So probate means prove the will here in the States.
Same with
You
us.
got to put your, yeah, I was talking to this lady the other day. It's everybody's thinking estate planning is, oh, when I'm going to die. I said, no, if you blow a gasket, you can no longer take care of your affairs. You better have it in writing, or the state will come in and take care of it for you. And I will tell you, I have seen so many people, when it comes to money, do bad things. And when you're incapacitated, I've seen people butchered by people they thought that loved them, you know?
Well, of
So
course.
estate planning is more important and it's so neglected. Remember, I told you that the Cubs guy with the Cubs was we were redoing his estate plan because he had grandchildren and things like that. So he's managing it every 5 to 7 years. So anyway, those are simple things that can make a huge impact. And in the last part of my book, I actually have a questionnaire for your listeners to go, hey, how do I hire an advisor? What questions do I ask? Because they don't even know. Now, these are some of them really, really tough questions, but you have to ask them, you know?
I've had
Eh,
one client in 25 years do a questionnaire to me. One only.
wow, wow, okay. I mean,
I'm
that's
serious.
kind of sad, actually, if you
It
think
is
about it.
well, it is sad, right?
Yep, the book is designed for the average Joe to get a leg up on the system and protect themselves from themselves, unscrupulous people, black swan events, too many fees, too much tax. It's very, very simple once you understand the power around you that can wipe you out. So,
Yeah, we're coming up on ending the show. Unfortunately, I'd love to keep on talking with you, but I want to respect your time. I know you have other things coming up.
thank
Um,
you, Dwight.
so, so we'll skip over some of the questions. I am going to ask one last question. We'll
Yep,
keep it brief as possible, then I have a closing segment. Have you ever had that opportunity or position in your life where you've had to tell people why you give a heck? Like, what would you tell people that they need to do to give a heck about their life? The most basic thing that you could think of. Would you tell, what could you tell somebody so that they would literally have that light bulb moment? Maybe not right then, but maybe later on in the day after you said something to them. What would be your
great
give a heck
question.
comment?
Okay, give a heck. Okay. Um, I have a unique situation because I saw devastation all around me. People don't believe they're going to get T-boned. They don't believe out of nowhere, health, lawsuit, partner, market loss, bad estate planning, um, manipulators, thieves, they don't know it. They don't want to know it. They don't think. And here's the other thing I find out is people keep thinking, oh, it won't happen to me. I got files. I can show you stuff. There was a guy who retired. I love this guy. I love this guy. We did all sorts of planning. This was 4 years before he retired. I can't tell you where it was, but it was a major corporation of moving food for grocery stores. This was the food broker of grocery stores, okay? You guys' fingers were like that. These guys he was a tank. I mean, you gave him a hug, it felt like you're hugging a wall. Stress, 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 stress. The guy retired, he lived 2 days. He had a stroke. Now, who put that in their date book? That's an example of what I mean. Had he not been worried, maybe it's the worry, worry, worry. Why did he have worry? He had everything was in line. Everything's ready to go. He lost his purpose. He didn't plan on that, didn't think about it. Just a simple thing like that. What am I going to do with my life now? Boom, he had a stroke.
Oh,
Nobody
I've
ever
got
thought that was
so
going to
many
happen to the
stories.
guy.
So many stories just like you, brother.
Yeah,
It's
it it
so
it
sad.
that's the trauma. The sad side of this story is we see people that don't listen. There's nothing, like I said way on the beginning of this conversation. You can't drag anyone to heaven. You just can't.
Yeah,
So
you
hopefully
can't.
they listen. Hopefully they learn. Hopefully tonight this podcast is going to help people wake up. You're not alone. They're not alone. But they've got to start interviewing advisors. They have to do this. These are professionals that are legally liable for their advice. A registered investment advisor is a fiduciary standard. It's not a suitability standard. Suitability means you know this, but
Yeah.
fill out a form and says you're a growth investor. A registered investment advisor must do what's right for the client. And they better have the facts to back it up, and they get audited for it. I mean, that's the universe. That's where I live, and I love that. What do I have to hide? There's nothing to hide from. I love what I do, you know, and it's a lot of fun to do what I do. It's a lot of work, but they're out there. You got to find people. You can talk, and please, I know well-meaning neighbors, friends, I get that. Do your own research. Do your interviews. This isn't going to take that long. It take you 2 weeks maybe. And then follow your gut, everybody. Please follow God gave you a gut for a reason. If it doesn't feel right, it's not. But you don't know what you don't know right now. That's the problem, right? And then you can always fire them. You can always fire them. But like I said, the multiple, the people, the wealthiest clients I've got have multiple advisors. And how brilliant is that? So let's say you've got five, you fire one, just like that, and then you replace them, and then go play with your grandkids. Don't worry. Worry will kill you. It'll
Yeah,
kill you with time.
absolutely.
Okay. So anyway,
So
thanks for having
thank
me
you.
on.
No problem. I'm going to close off the show now. Thanks again for all your great stories and advice. I want to say, I genuinely want to thank you for your conversation. This has been amazing. You showed up today with 35 years of real experience, real stories, and real care for the people on the other side of the table. That comes through. It really does. What strikes me most about what you shared today is the simplicity underneath it all. It is not about how much you have, it is about whether it lasts and whether you can depend on it. That is a message every person approaching retirement needs to hear, and the story of the janitor is perfect for that. And I'm glad we were able to have this conversation today. Mark, where's the best place for listeners to reach you to find the Retirement Navigator, connect with your work, and access your free resource, the 7 Retirement Mistakes Report?
Oh, yeah, that's great. I really appreciate you asking that. Go to retirementincomestrategies.pro. That's the website. You can download the 7 Mistakes Report right there. See a couple things on my book there. You'll see that I've been on CNBC, ABC, I've been in the Wall Street Journal, so on. You see a lot of that. You'll see some interviews. Also, my YouTube channel, Retirement Income Strategies Pro. You can look that up, and you can actually go the @ Mark Kollar, Kollar, retirement expert. If you just put that in a search line, that'll pop a bunch of my videos up there. My book is on Amazon, but go get the free report. It's out there for a reason.
Right on. Thank you so much. For those new to the Give a Heck podcast, you can go to giveaheck.com. At the top, hit the podcast tab, and that will literally show you. You'll see Mark's show notes, which are very detailed and very detailed. There's chapter summaries, there's a full transcript. You'll be able to see all his social media links. You'll be able to see the website he mentioned, and it's a one-stop shop. So you don't have to necessarily rewind and listen to what he just said. You listen to the whole episode again would even be better. Give yourself a little bit more because we miss things. We're human beings, right? So thanks, Mark. I appreciate you coming on. To everyone
Thank you,
listening
Dwight.
and watching today, you're welcome. Thank you for giving your time to this show. That matters more than you know. If this conversation added something to your day, please share it. Every time you share an episode, you put this message in front of someone who may need it. And that is exactly what we're here for. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite platform. And if you have a minute, leave a review. It generally helps this show reach more people. You can also watch the show on my Give a Heck YouTube channel. If you're watching there right now, please subscribe. It helps get the message out to more people again, but it's exactly what we're trying to do, Mark and I. Until next time, live life on purpose and not by accident. And remember, it's never too late to give a heck.
Thank you for taking time out of your day and listening to Give a Heck. If you find value, I'd appreciate you sharing with your friends and family so they too can learn how to live life on purpose, not by accident. So you do not miss the next episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and please also post a review. I look forward to reading your comments. This has been Dwight Heck. If you want to check out other podcast episodes or today's show notes, please check out my website, giveaheck.com. And until next time, together let us all strive to give a heck.